What's going on, guys? Clifton Denny with On Your Own Outdoors. Hey guys, we're like 2 weeks out from Christmas and I want to talk to y'all about a new camouflage that I've been testing out this season that I have absolutely fell in love with. So as you can see, it's different. It's a different kind of design. It's got kind of like the snake pattern in the background. It's a lighter color. We'll get to that in a minute and why I think that's such a big deal. I wasn't necessarily right out the gate. I didn't know that I was gonna like the camouflage pattern as well late season, but come to find out, I fell in love with it. And like I said, we're gonna talk about that in a minute. But the name of this company is Vycah. They're an Arkansas-based company. They're just getting up and running. The only place you can get this stuff right now is online on their website. We'll make sure we drop a link down below. The set that you see me wearing is the Kinsley suit. So the Kinsley suit's like a mid-season suit. However, I would call it a late season suit now that I've actually owned it, because as long as you're wearing a good base layer, I think that you would be fine with this down in like the low 30s, maybe even high 20s, depending on what the wind speed was. But the big deal about this suit, so whenever I talked to the guy that designed it, we all have questions. One of my main questions was like, what makes this different than everything else? And this is the difference. It makes absolutely no noise. It's completely silent. So there's a couple different things that are different about the Vycah gear than everything else. So number one you don't see is hoods. Other than the rain gear, they don't make hoods on their stuff, and I respect that because I can't hardly hear, so I don't wear hoods either. Very rarely will you see me with a hood over my head, especially if it's not raining. And the reason for that is I feel like it blocks your peripherals, and then it also, contracts the noise where you can't hear as well. So with this Kinsley suit, we're going to kind of walk through everything with it, and then the importance, I think, of this color camouflage that I didn't realize until I actually got my hands on it. So we'll start with the jacket. This is the Kinsley jacket. Up top, you've got two pockets. They do have zippers on them, but they're a quiet zipper. They're not like the big, bulky, loud zippers. This part of it I have come to really love, and the reason being is a lot of the other designs, phones are big nowadays. They're not these little bitty things anymore. I use an iPhone 13 Plus. It fits in here with no problem. It's got room to spare. So one thing that's kind of changed in the way that I used to hunt versus now is you can see on this side, it literally comes all the way around to your armpit. So I store my rangefinder on this side. I drop my phone on this side if I see something coming in. So that's kind of a big deal there. Having these big chest pockets, I really like it. It's not something that I thought I would ever want, but now that I have it, I don't know how I kind of lived without it. So now we'll move over to the wrist. So it does have Velcro on it, but it's just on the wrist here so that you can tighten that up, loosen it, if the wind's blowing and you want to tighten it up. So if I roll this thing up, you will also see that it does have a pull strap. One thing that I do like about this one is if I leave it completely loose, then it's still got kind of that baggy fit. It doesn't, squeeze in on you or whatever, which I am a big fan of. I like to be able to tighten that dude up if it's super cold outside, especially for you saddle hunters. One thing that I have realized with some of my other camouflage is when I'm in a saddle, you can see how low this comes down. They make it so that whenever you're sitting, it's kind of below so that you're not getting that wind riding up your back. So being able to tighten that up whenever I'm in the saddle keeps that from riding up out of the saddle. And that's huge to me. I'm sure it would be to some of you other guys. So that is kind of the top. You have these two pockets here up around the neck. You've got like the fleece line. It's got kind of some different stuff here on the inside. It's not the fleece, but super warm. I wore it multiple times throughout the year whenever it was, I don't know, low 40s, mid 30s. And I had a decent base layer, not a good one, just a Walmart base layer, and I was fine. So for that purpose, I think it's great. One thing I will say as well, water resistant. This suit is not waterproof. Water resistant, drizzling rain, you're gonna be fine. If it gets more than a drizzle, you're definitely gonna wanna check out their rain gear. But moving on to the bigger and better thing, which I'm the biggest fan of, which is the pants. So I'm gonna back up so that you can kind of see them here. So when you're looking at the pants, you have a couple of different options. So you've got your normal pockets that are up top here. One thing that you notice is that you don't have a low sagging crotch, which to me is absolutely phenomenal. about every other kind of camouflage that I have. If I buy it a little bit bigger in the waist so that I can put stuff underneath it, you end up with this crotch that like hangs down to your knees. You don't have that here. The other big deal about this top and bottom is it's like a stretchy material, so you don't have to worry about blowing that crotch out anymore, which again, if I went in here and got my camouflage, I probably have at least 5 or 6 sets that have a crotch blown out of them. But moving around through it, you've got 2 pockets on the back side. Both are zip pockets, both are fleece lined inside. Moving around to the front of it, you have 2 pockets here, your normal pants pockets, but this is what I really like about these. It gives you another pocket here. So the thing that I like about these 2 pockets is when you're sitting down in your stand, these pockets are on top. So what I have found myself doing is if I don't have my phone stored up here, I can slide my phone into that real quick. When the wind's blowing really hard, I just went to a thumb release this year. I'm still nervous about just leaving it on my bow. I put it right here in this pocket. I can slide my hand in there, grab that thumb release out, and I'm good to go. The other big deal about these pants that I think for you public land guys like myself, that's kind of a big deal. Over here on the side, they have a vent. So that doesn't seem like a big deal until you're walking a long ways, and I promise you that is a huge deal. And then lastly, whenever it comes to the pants, probably I would say my second favorite thing about them, because maybe my third, because the first favorite thing is definitely these front pockets. Second is going to be the vents. Third part is this right here. So if you look over here, you can see that you've got like the stretchy deal, but you also have the option to unsnap and unzip these, giving you about, you can see there, just a little bit of room. And why that's important is a lot of the places that I hunt on public land, if you watch the Kansas hunt, you know, I was 1.8 miles from the truck when I harvested that deer. And so the big deal with that for me is when I find myself doing most of the time is walking in as light as I can. So I'll be walking in my skivvies, man. If somebody caught me out in the woods, they think I was a crackhead or something, because I'll be in a pair of long johns and a t-shirt when it's 35 degrees walking to my stand, and I will pack all this stuff in. Well, with some of my other camouflage, what I end up having to do is I've got to get dressed at the base of my tree. And the reason for that is I can't get the pants to go over my boot. So I'll have to get down at the base of the tree, kick my boots off, put my thick pants on, and then go up the tree. Well, the problem with that is you're hot from coming in. You put on hot clothes before your body gets that opportunity to cool itself back down. So with these, the great thing is I can leave them packed in my bag. I get up in my stand, I get set, and then I can take and put these on once my core temperature cools down, so that I don't sweat, which just makes you more cold later on in the day. So that's a huge thing about these as well. All in all, I wanted to wait about a month and a half or so. Actually, I guess it's been almost 2 months before I did a review of this camouflage, because I wanted to actually get out in the woods and experience how it works. So this is the big deal about the camouflage itself and the color. So whenever I looked at this online, I actually talked to the guy that designed it. I was worried about the colors because it looks shiny. But if I back up and you look up above me, you can see the sky. So what I have found out, and I guess, you know, FBI calls it a clue, right? So whenever you climb these trees, one thing that I think guys forget about, myself being one of those, is your backdrop a lot of the times ends up being a sky. Late season, a lot of times ends up being a cloudy sky. This stuff is absolutely phenomenal for that. As you look at it, it's got kind of like a snakeskin pattern. It helps you blend in with anything. I actually wore this stuff yesterday. Eric and I getting in a tree, and we both were kind of talking about before we got out there. And then once I got up in the tree, Eric was like, man, that stuff looks pretty good. And it does. I'm telling you, don't get discouraged just by the fact of the way it looks online, because the way this stuff is designed and the way that it works, it kind of changes no matter where you're at. Absolutely the most comfortable camouflage I've ever worn in my life. Is it a little bit more expensive? 110%. I've always been like, go the cheap route kind of guy. This stuff is a little bit more expensive, but it's worth it. It's super comfortable. And again, it is the quietest camouflage I have ever put on. You make zero noise. You're not going to sweat because you can layer up with it. It is designed for the bow hunter. Now, you rifle hunters, can you use it? Absolutely. Get over here on the dark side with us and you can use this stuff as well. But it is designed for bow hunters. It's designed, this guy wanted to make something that made zero noise, so he didn't have to worry about that whenever it comes to getting busted by deer, and he knocked it out of the park. This stuff is absolutely phenomenal whenever it comes to not making noise. So I take my little Lone Wolf or my little XOP or my trophy line saddle, and I go climb up in the tree with those, or my JX3. I'm not making any noise. I've got camo dust to cover up my scent. I'm ready to go. So if you're looking for new camo, make sure you go check this stuff out. It is most certainly worth looking into 110%. So what we always talk about is pluses and minuses. The pluses about this, I could go on all day long. I just did a whole, we're probably 10 minutes into this thing. I just did 10 minutes talking about all the pluses about it. There's one negative about it, and I actually think it's a me negative, not necessarily the camouflage negative. But the one negative I'm gonna talk about here is the button. So with my button, and I don't know if I hung it up and kind of stretched it out, but I have had issues with my button wanting to stay buttoned. I like the idea of what they did here. They actually put this button on like a strap. So I do really like that idea, but something I would like to see is some kind of more support around that little hole there. But 99% of the time I'm wearing a belt, so it doesn't matter anyways. Just always have to find one thing. It's just who I am. But sorry guys, zip that back up. It's cold outside. But all in all, I love this stuff. I guess a little caveat on top of everything else. One cool thing is you can see all the V here. So you've got it here, you've got it on your pants. All of that stuff is reflective at night. So right, wrong, or indifferent, I'm not saying it's a good idea or a bad idea, but one time, I guess about 3 weeks ago, I do hunt some public land where I will leave something in the tree every now and then. Whenever I was coming back in, I actually shined my light up and I seen my jacket up in the tree because it was shining, and that's how I found out it was reflective. So that's kind of a cool little story there. But hey guys, that's all I've got for you today. This is the Vycah Camouflage, and I promise you, if you're looking for a new camouflage, go check this stuff out. You won't regret it. I'm not gonna steer you in the wrong direction. Honest reviews all the way across the board, and if you're wanting something that's completely silent, don't hunt with me because I never showed up, but go check this camo out. It's the quietest thing on the market. Good hunting, guys. It's almost Christmas. We're a week out. I'm off almost every afternoon next week. We've got 2 more shooter deer on camera that we're gonna be after real hard in between myself and Eric over the next, I don't know, about 7 or 8 days. And then we're gonna go back to Missouri right after Christmas. So, and then following that, we'll be at the ATA. So if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you go subscribe, because we are going to show you every piece of new equipment for 2023 here in 3 weeks when we're at the ATA. So hey guys, that's all I got for you today. Good hunting, and we'll see you from a tree.